Okay, so we are covering yesterday's newspaper. Now, if you see the first page, we already know about all of this, the mission to moon and smooth sailing, all of that. We've covered this news quite extensively, so I don't think there's anything new to add to this. Now, what is important in yesterday's newspaper is that the BRICS summit is being held in Johannesburg. And there are a number of articles with respect to BRICS. One is written by Pratap Bhanu Mehta, which is again a critique of BRICS, something that you should know. So whenever you are understanding a kind of regional or a grouping, you should also know a critical analysis of it. For example, the critical analysis of SEO. So there are two good articles on critical analysis. One written by Pratap Bhanu Mehta in today's newspaper. The other one is again a critical analysis of BRICS, that how it is not something like NAM. So these are two very good articles that we will cover, but the front page talks about PM at BRICS, looking forward to bilaterals and soon to be a engine for global, soon to be a global growth engine. Now BRICS, if you see, is an association of countries which came into being in 2009. Now the background of coming of BRICS was that the global financial system was crumbling because of the 2007-2008 financial crisis, and it was felt that the world needed an alternative financial system, and maybe world needed an or an alternative system with respect to the West. It was typically a unipolar world, and world needed another pole which talks about the developing countries and the global South, so to say. Seemingly very different countries, which has nothing in common, not borders, and except for India and China. There are very varied economic systems. There are very political systems. You can't find anything common between them. And then even in terms of social development, they are very different countries. So all of them came together with this narrative of clubbing together of countries, which had a goal which was kind of giving a second pole to the world, a voice to the global South. So this is how this particular grouping came to being, and now we are talking about expansion of this group, and we'll talk about the critical analysis, that how it's going to probably dilute the meetings, and maybe lead it to rudderless as say the SARC combination, or any other combination that you can think, because there is nothing common to all these countries. And probably this is a forum where China and Russia will stitch together their alliance again, and present an anti West kind of a rhetoric, and they will it will be used by these smaller nations as a trump card against the West. So this is what a number of articles we are going to study is going to talk about. Now, if you see what the Prime Minister has said, that he welcomes all the countries towards India's development path, and India plans to be a developed country by 2047. India is already going to become a $5 trillion economy by 2027, and we have a huge ecosystem of startups. And then the Prime Minister has met the extended BRICS countries, which are mostly the African states, the extended the Africa outreach countries, and the BRICS plus dialogue events. So all of that has been discussed, but at the same point of time, one of the main emphasis for New Delhi will be the talk between Xi Jinping and the Prime Minister Modi. So that is going to be a key highlight for India, because in the past as well, in the past 10 years, we've seen that whenever there has been skirmishes on the border, either BRICS or any kind of bilateral talk between the heads of the state has led to de-escalation of these of these events. And what we are looking forward to is that maybe in a meeting between Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi leads to some kind of de-escalation at Galwan and at Hot Springs and at and the Daulat Beg Oldie. So these are the key pointers that we are looking forward to. So this is one news that you can take forward. The other news article is with respect to the onion market. Remember that the onion market, now the government has imposed a 40% export tariff on, and because of which the farmers, which were hoping that they would probably be able to earn some money, are now protesting against this move. Now, in order to counter that, what the government of India has done is that the Union Food Minister has announced that two cooperatives, the NAFED as well as the NCCF, so the National Agriculture Cooperative Marketing Federation and the National Cooperative Consumer Federation, will buy onions from the market and buy it at a competitive rate. So they will buy it at a competitive rate, as well as even if you export, what the finance minister say or the food minister says, that even if you export the commodity, considering everything, you will not get the amount that the government is now promising you, because there's going to be some kind of transportation cost, storage cost. So government is offering you a much better amount than what you would get in exports. So this is a measure that has been taken up by the government to cool down the onion prices. The onion prices are already up to around 45 to 60 rupees, and this is after the tomato prices were up to 200 rupees per kg in some of the urban areas. So this is something that has been done to even tame down inflation, as well make it remunerative for farmers. But at the same point of time, the government intends to buy these onions and then supply them at a cheaper cost, absorbing that difference, and supply it as a cheaper cost to the final consumer, so that they can tame down inflation as well. So it's trying to hit two birds with a stone, buying from the producers at a reasonable price and then selling it at a lower price to cool down the retail inflation. So this is another article that you need to read. Now, coming to, let's first talk about the editorial pages, and then we will move on to the explain page. Now, there is a very interesting quotation given in the editorial page. Let's see that. So and I firmly believe in this particular quotation. I have told you all of you about, whenever you have signed up for the D3 program. I've told you this, that if you are in a bad mood, go out for a walk. If you are still in a bad mood, go out for another walk or maybe a run. Human brains don't work like that. If you are running, if you are walking, it is impossible to think of negative thoughts. So and if you're still thinking of negative thoughts, maybe you need some kind of extra help. But that I've been through lots of ups and downs, and this is something that I absolutely follow. So maybe take this quotation to heart. Now let's talk about the dissonant note, which we are also going to talk about in the explained section. Now, the Prime Minister recently had said that India is a young country, and that is why you should invest in India. It has demography, it has demand, and it's the best country and it's poised to become the developed country in a few years. But at the same point of time, what the CMI research data shows is something opposite. If we talk about the employed people, so remember, there's a labor force who are working and who are willing to work. That is called as labor force. People in the age group of 15 to 59 who are willing to work, who are either working, willing to work, and actively looking for work. This is called as labor force. This is also called as labor force participation ratio if you divide it by the people who are in the age group of 15 to 59. Then there is something called as workforce, people who are already working. And now what we see in our data, and I want you to turn the page and see it through a diagram, because then you will be able to better understand this particular spirit of this article. If you see this particular figure, what is this saying? This is saying that between 2016 and 2021, the number of people who are in the age group of 15 to 30 and who are working has reduced from 25% to 17%. And the number of people who are above 45 years of age and who are working has improved from 37% to 49%. So what we are seeing is that the number of people who are working and are in the age bracket of 45 and plus have gained at the cost of people who are young. And this is also in consonance with the data that has been released by the Government of India through the PLFS survey. So I have talked to you about this periodic labor force survey which the Government of India comes up with every year, and that data again shows that the highest amount of unemployment is in the age group of 15 to 59, 15 to 29. So what we have is a very volatile situation where we are adding a number of people in the lower age group cohorts between that young age group. Every year, millions of people are entering into this age group who are willing to work, or who are desperate to work, but they are not able to find work. Whereas the oldies are finding a larger spot, and this is called as aging of workforce, and this is very paradoxical for India. Why is it paradoxical? On one hand, we are saying that we are the youngest economy in the world. We should have young people in the workforce. At the same point of time, when we see our workforce, which is the people who are working, we are seeing that the number of people who are working are mostly 45 years and plus. So that means there are two implications of this. One implication is that we are not being able to create jobs for young people. The second implication, which might absolve government of its might absolve government, is that these young people are not enrolling themselves in jobs, and then they are studying for and they're looking for higher education opportunities, or maybe a lot of them are sitting for civil services and not actively looking for jobs. So all of this basically shows that young people are not entering the market, or they are very disappointed and they're signing out of the market, as in case of a number of women in this particular age group. So all this, the entire cocktail, what it shows is that there is some significant problem in India's growth story, especially with respect to demography, and we need to resolve it. If we want to achieve that developed tag by 1947, we need to find jobs for the current cohort. It will have implication. If we are not able to do that, a demographic dividend might turn into a demographic nightmare. So this is something that we need to debate upon and talk about. And this is the essence of the article, the editorial article that has been published by the Indian Express, the dissonant note. Let's talk about the other article. The other article is mapping long COVID. Now, ICMR has done a research recently, and that research has said, as pointed out, that people who were hospitalized or people who had serious bout of COVID, of those people, around 6.5% patients who were hospitalized with COVID had died in the following year possibly because of complications arising out of COVID. Now, this is basically called as a long COVID. The implications of COVID, we still not have been able to figure out what are the implications of vaccination, what are the implications of COVID in itself in long term. So all of this requires long term data. Maybe in a couple of years, maybe in 5 years, 10 years, we'll come to understand what has been the actual health outcome and health implication of COVID, because a lot of people are suffering because of consequences of COVID. So this is for example, there are talks about post-COVID symptoms like brain fog, and there are incidences of cardiac involvement. There are other incidents in terms of memory losses, and the virus is affecting multiple organs. So we really do not know what is going to be the implication, and we need more research. So this is another article that is there. Another interesting article for health freaks is that all you need is to do 3,967 steps instead of those 10,000 steps, and that is going to take care of most of your health needs. But I would still say do try to target those 10,000 steps. But at the same point of time, if you're targeting 10,000 steps, mind you will be losing a lot of your body fat as well as your muscle size. So I typically am not a huge fan of cardio. Especially if you're trying to build a decent physique. So less of cardio, more of. Now the other article next, let's talk about this wonderful article by Pratap Bhanu Mehta. One of the few articles where he, I would say, is written probably in a very simpler language. I personally have grudges with his articles with respect to the kind of language that he uses. Now, what does this article say? And there are a couple of quotations that you can pick up from here when you are writing a bricks answer. Now, anyways, I don't think there is any possibility that a question paper can be made this year without a mention of BRICS. So there is going to be a question on BRICS, and anyone who's preparing seriously for 23 attempt needs to prepare this topic very well. Now, what does this topic talk about, or what is the quotation that you can talk about? That the essence of BRICS is which Cyril Ramaphosa also says, that the common desire to have a more balanced global order. So balanced against what? That is what is being questioned. Now in 2009 there was a need of a balance, because the entire world financial system was being rallied up by the West, and it is the West which caused the crisis, and because of which there were implications throughout the world. Now we have an alternative system. We do not have a hegemony of West over the financial systems. We still do have it, but at the same point of time, there are alternative systems that are available. China in itself has made a name for itself in terms of providing alternative finances. So now let's talk about this article. So the other part of the article, if you see the second paragraph, it talks about that BRICS was always going to be a challenging grouping, since there's nothing common to hold. There's no organic touch to this particular article. You compare it to any other grouping. For example, even SARC has as a glue of regionalism. ASEAN countries has a group as a glue. Then you have all other countries. For example, Quad has as a common theme. Even SCO has a common theme. But BRICS as a grouping does not have any common theme which runs across, except for, say, a global south order. But what is this global south order doing? And is it really championing the cause of global south, or is it giving a new narrative against a new kind of narrative, and playing into the hands of Sino-Russian narrative, so to say? So this is the second part, that how this system came into being. This system came into being in 2009 against the Western led crisis, financial crisis, and what was needed was a rebalancing of development order designed by West, and which was an important feature of global politics. Now, but what has happened? There has been several complications with respect to this. Now, the world was looking towards anti-West, and another pole towards West. But now the world is also looking towards anti-China. And what we have seen during COVID, and what we have seen the last couple of years, the world even cannot trust China these days. So therefore, rebalancing against what? Rebalancing against West, or rebalancing against China? And more countries are now looking, in fact, towards the West, because they cannot trust both Russia and China. Even the Russian peripheral countries cannot trust Russia because of its militarism. And China, again, people cannot trust China with respect to its policies, with respect to its I would say, new colonialism policies. In fact, the world was looking towards BRICS to provide an alternative system, and especially towards China to provide an alternative system of finances. But when they have realized that the way that China lends to these countries, smaller nations, it is even worse than what the West used to do. So the Chinese lending system is actually promoting neo-colonialism, because the rate of interest that they charge is huge, and the repercussion has been felt by a number of African countries, by Pakistan, by Sri Lanka, and that shows that the Western developmental model or finances still hold water in the world. Then the other thing is where you do have some kind of relevance. If you see this part of the article, there is some kind of relevance for the Western system, for the BRICS system, is because the West actually showed during COVID narcissism, the kind of vaccine policy that West had shown, the kind of militarism or weaponizing of the international trading system that it showed against Russia. Then the world needs an alternative currency system. You cannot put all your money and all your eggs into the basket of US dollar. And that is why the importance of regional trading system, the importance of regional currency agreements, the importance of even the Chinese yuan coming into world play, and even India is promoting its own currency through UPI. So all of that has come up because of the fact that US has weaponized the world economy aftermath the Russian invasion, and that's one relevant point. But at the same point of time, the world really does not believe in yuan, and while India is championing the debt relief, because China has been a major debtor, China really does not believe in that debt relief system. So again, there are differences here. Then again, in this part of the article, countries were interested. Countries like India was potentially interested in developmental solutions, but the BRICS Bank, it does not. The AIIB, India Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, is operating out of the funds provided by World Bank, and B, the credit rating agencies that the BRICS Bank wanted to come up with has not really taken off. So the world really does not see the Chinese model of funding as to be an alternative to the Western model of funding, because of the fact that the Chinese model is even more predatory as compared to the Western model. Then in terms of climate change, again, the world has not seen much of action from climate change, from the perspective of climate change by BRICS. And now what we need is a rebalanced negotiation between the North and the South, and maybe BRICS can take this up as a challenge. So this is another thing. But yes, if you want to find some kind of justification for BRICS, it's a good forum for socialization for all these countries. All these developing countries can come and socialize. It serves as a good arena for even bilateral talks like the Xi Jinping and Modi talks. And but at the same point of time, the world needs more rebalancing against China, something that could both China as well as the Western world, and this is what we need out of BRICS. So this is a very important article. Let me first continue with the narrative of this particular article in the article by C. Raja Mohan, which has taken a similar line, but it kind of compares NAM and BRICS. It is said that we are expanding we are expanding the membership of BRICS to African nations, to more Asian nations, and it is also being said, and that is one potential question that you can see in 2023, is BRICS moving towards the new NAM? And this article vehemently opposes that particular idea. And why it opposes is that NAM had an underlying current. That underlying current was that the world needed these countries which were associating in NAM through the Bandung conference in 1955 did not want to participate in either of these power groups, neither the western side or the eastern side. The western side led by the US and the West, and the eastern side led by USSR. So these countries wanted to stay neutral. They did not want to participate in these power struggles. But now, if you see the grouping of the BRICS, it is more led by Sino-Russian relation, and they have made a grouping of their own, and they are basically why they want to expand. If you see the interest of China and Russia, they want more members to come here. And why do they want more members? They want more members to come and participate and this forum to become big, because they want to use this forum against the West, especially against the US. And this is where India stands to be at a very crucial junction, which is not written in this article. India stands to be at a very crucial junction because of the fact that it can US would need India as a counterweight within the BRICS, because India-US relationship is now becoming extremely strong, and they would want a voice within the BRICS to counter this Sino-Russian confluence of interests. And this is what the essence of this particular article is. That this is one thing. Then if you read this particular part of the article, it talks about that if the number of countries become big or large, if BRICS become large, will it become more effective? And it says it does not become more effective because of the fact that we've seen how SCO is struggled because of the India-Pakistan issues, how even ASEAN has struggled because of India-Pakistan issues. So similarly, increasing number of countries will make the least common denominator will basically, because if you have 5 countries, the least common denominator is easy to find. But if you have 25 countries, the least common denominator, the common point, especially with all these diverse countries, will be very, very, very slow. You see the kind of negotiation that happens at WTO. Because there are so many countries, the least common denominator is impossible to find. You see the UN system. Because the number of countries are huge, finding a common solution, which is otherwise called as the least common denominator, is very difficult to find. Similarly, if you expand the membership of BRICS, finding out a common theme and a common goal is going to be very difficult. You will see the same thing in G20 as well. So this is another part of article that you can understand. And then the other part of the article says that the Russia-Chinese logic to counter US is understandable, but what they are championing is that they are using the name of Global South to basically hide their own interests. So Global South is being used as a bogey to get all these countries on board, and all these countries also know this. They also know that why we are signing up for BRICS is to counter US and then threaten the US led system, and have more point brownies on the negotiation table while negotiating with Washington. So this is the essence of the article. Now you can, and the debt part is also covered in this article here, that how the Chinese system of debt is poor. So you can read this article. It's a very important article with respect to BRICS. Then let's come back to the previous page, and see this particular article, resisting landslides. Now we've talked with respect to this particular article, or with respect to this particular news, quite a few times, that Himalayan states needs to come together, and the geography of this particular area is very, very volatile, very, very vulnerable. Apart from that, you have climate change, you have anthropogenic factors, you have young mountains which are still growing, and all these factors come together to make this section of the country very vulnerable. And you need help of all these states to come together and fight it out. Make disaster resilient plans. Invest in AI and ML, and invest in all these geohazards, as well as early warning systems need to be adopted. And they also need to see what is the pressure, the anthropogenic pressure that they are imposing on these states, on these difficult and as well as fragile zones. For example, cutting off land. Remember widening of the roads that has happened in Himachal Pradesh at 90-degree slope instead of 45-degree slope or 60-degree slope. That has also contributed to the landslide. That has also contributed to the human toll, and the destabilization of the geomorphology of this area. So all of this needs to be done, and all these states needs to come together and invest in these technologies. And if you see the last part of this particular article, they say that monitoring through web-based sensors, rain gauges, piezometer, inclinometer, extendometer, INSAR, and total stations can help. And we need to monitor these dense population and large built up areas. And the other thing that we need to see is that whatever tourism and town planning that we need to do needs to be in consonance with the capacity of the region to withstand this kind of pressure. For example, you could use this example in your answers, that in Nepal, even the Everest has become a tourist stop because everyone wants to climb Everest, and that is why the government of Nepal is now permitting only certain amount of people who can visit Everest, who can climb Everest every year, and they've started increasing the fee for climbing Everest as well. So such kind of measure needs to be taken, sustainable measure needs to be taken with respect to states as well. So you need to have a balance between development as well as that of nature. A very important article for you to read. Then a good article written by Siddharth Rathore, but we have talked about this number of times. We've read so many articles with respect to this criminal justice system, the 3 bills that have come up, the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, which is going to replace the IPC. The other one is the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, which is going to replace the CRPC, and the Bharatiya Sakshya Sakshya Sanhita, which is going to replace the Evidence Code, the Indian Evidence Act. This particular article is a critical summary of or a critical analysis of these three bills. It does talk about the fact that yes, it has some new provisions. It has some new technology related provisions. It has provisions like community service. It has provisions like online e-filing of FIR, online filing of FIR. But at the same point of time, this particular article frowns upon a number of negative things that are there in this particular. The recompilation of code is of course laudable, that you have concised the code from so many sections to a lower amount of sections. So you have made them concise, but at the same point of time, it is in fact rebottling or putting a new label on the same bottle, so as to say, or new wine in old bottle, or if one wants to use an adage. So, but is it so? It has new references as well. But one of the few things that you can talk about in the first part is that this particular Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita enhances the punishment for negligence caused by negligence act causing death, and ignores the distinctive treatment of rashness and negligence adopted by Singapore. So basically, it would also criminalize doctors. Now, doctors will stand to lose because of this provision, because they can be prosecuted for a higher with a higher degree, if it is proven to be if they are proven to be negligent. Then again, there is no reason why mob lynching is not in line with murder and intentional culpable homicide. Remember, mob lynching is only going to lead you to 7 years of imprisonment rather than 10 years of imprisonment. Then sedition, although has been deleted, but the new version of sedition under code section 150 has newer norms, and the government can use this for wider purposes. For example, financial frauds, financial factors can also bring about application of this section 150. And what is more important is that, will the government of India use this particular section sparingly, as it was mentioned by Supreme Court in the Kedarnath case, or is it going to use section 124, the newer version of section 124A, more often as they were doing? Then one of the essences of the criminal procedure code, if you remember the Menaka Guruswamy article, it says that it says that the criminal procedure code is like the constitution of the accused, and it talks about the rights of the accused. And this particular the new version, the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, although brings certain newer provisions, but at the same point of time, it's arbitrary power of the state to increase police custody from right now from 15 days to even 40 days and 60 days. And then you can have any kind of admission in 40, because the kind of psychological impact that a person would have in 60 days in jail will be much huge. And that's why you will have all these confessions coming out. So the power of the state will increase, and the power of the individual and the accused is being compromised in this. And then there are other parts of the article which are very general. You can read those articles, but I've discussed the essence of this article, and you combine it with the Menaka Guruswamy article, and you will get a very good summary, critical analysis of the new three new bills. Then let's come to the explained section, folks. I'd explained you this. Maybe if you want to read the if you want to read the Madras Day, the reason behind the name, you can read it, but not very important. 5 things that you did not know about Chandrayaan, other moon missions. Again, something that you can read, and the new mission. I mean, one interesting thing, that unlike countries that have whole series of lunar mission planned, India has not yet announced the follow-up of Chandrayaan 3. So then the moon mission with collaboration in Japan is called as LUPEX. This is something that was new to me as well. So you can use that. Then even later this month, Japan's agency, we have already talked about Japan Space Agency's JAX is ready to send its moon lander mission, which is called as SLIM. So maybe this MCQ type question can come from here. SLIM and Russia's Luna, and then you have this Chandrayaan, and you have Lupex. So maybe some prelims aspect questions that are there. Now, what is important is this part of the article, report of panel on stalled real estate projects. Now, what has happened is that we've had a number of projects in India which are real estate projects which are stalled. Most of them in the Delhi NCR region, and because of which there is suffering both of banks, as well as because their capital gets blocked, and as well as the livelihood income of the residents who have invested their life savings have also been blocked. So, what are the committee findings? So, the Indian Banking Association said that 60% of the legacy stalled projects have already been bought with a capital commitment of 1 lakh crores, lakh crore, and most of these is 44% is in the NCR region, and 21% is in the Mumbai metropolitan region. And one of the major reasons for this the stalled kind of activity is because of the lack of financial viability, delays, and cost overrun. And one of the ways through which you can improve this is through improving their internal rate of return on the projects, and that can be done by attracting funding, more funding at a cheaper rate, more funds that you get at a cheaper rate, and this project can become more viable. So this is what needs to be done, and that can also be done by if the developers and the land authorities from whom the land is being bought takes up a haircut or accept a lesser amount. Then apart from that, if you've read about the RERA Act 2016, it talks about that if you are making up any project which has more than 8 apartments, then it has to be registered with RERA, and all the provisions of RERA has to be followed, and which has led to a significant improvement in the housing market and the real estate market in the country. But at the same point of time, even if there were many projects which were substantially completed, but homeowners have not been given the homes because of the administrative hurdles, and that should be removed. But very important point in the article is that Noida and Greater Noida has come up with this zero period for 2 years, whereby the interest and penalties on developers have been waived because of the impact of COVID. And these developers have also been told that they can bring another partner, a co-developer, who can come up on board, give money, and then develop the project. They have also proposed partial surrender policy. For example, if I have a large piece of land and I'm only using some part of land and I'm not able to build that up, so what I can do is I can surrender some part of my land to the government, take back some money, or have a cut on the amount of loan that I've taken, and then build this particular project that I'm doing. So that is partial surrender policy. And since most of this recommendation lies in the domain of the states, it is the states which have to take action on board. So this is the other part of the article that you need to see. And then the last part is on page number 13. If you see page number 13, you have the safeguards to be brought in when exemptions kick in. So what the electronics and IT minister has said is that a lot of these exemptions will be talked about in the delegated legislation. So what the government does is, the government has passed a raw act, and a lot of rules and regulations will come through delegated legislation. There will be rules coming up with bureaucracy, and with the parliament and the executive will make some rules, and those rules will quantify that who is exempted and why they are exempted. So all of these instrumentalities will come here. And one of the most contentious issues that we have talked about this particular bill is the section 17 subclause 2 subclause A, which talks about the fact that the provisions of the act shall not apply in respect to the processing of personal data by such instrumentalities of the state as the central government notifies. And that is built because of the safety and the sovereignty and the security of the states, friendly relations. So based on these factors, anyone can be exempted of the Data Protection Act, but all these rules and regulations needs to be put out in public for people to understand why they have been. Then maybe you can read price hike on some of the food items is transitory, inflation warrants a greater vigil, which has been talked about by the finance minister. Very important news with respect to government in unveiling Bharat NCAP. What is this NCAP? New Car Assessment Program, whereby all cars will have to go through this testing procedure. Cars which are up to 3.5 tons, and this will be implemented from October 1st to check the safety of all the cars. And the cost of testing is extremely cheap because this is an Indianized version. It is going to only cost companies 60 lakh rupees. Then another article that you need to read is banking system now turning into liquidity. Why the liquidity deficit? Why liquidity deficit? Because of the fact that, see, RBI is basically putting money into the market through number of operations, but that money is also being sucked out. Why that money is being sucked out? A, the RBI is selling dollars into the market because it wants to defend rupee. Rupee has been falling, so what it does is that it basically sells dollar, and by selling dollar it is going to increase the supply of dollar and reduce the price of dollar in the market. But when it sells dollar, what is it going to buy? It is going to buy rupees in return, which is going to suck the liquidity out. Apart from that, in the recent measure, the government of India or the RBI had said that there will be an incremental cash reserve ratio. So whatever additional cash that you're going to have, 10% of that will have to be kept with RBI. That is called as incremental cash reserve ratio. This is at 10% right now between May 2019 and July 28, 2023. So that is also sucking up liquidity. Apart from the fact that there have been GST outflows, which has led to again sucking of liquidity, and then you have advanced tax outflows from the banking sector. That is also going to suck liquidity. So all of these factors are going to suck up liquidity, and as compared to this, the liquidity infused by the RBI is less, and thereby overall the banking sector has moved into a liquidity negative territory in this particular zone. So this is what the article talks about. So with this, that is what I was expecting, that this newspaper will take time because there are a number of articles. With this, we will wrap up our today's session. Now tomorrow again, what I'm planning to do is, then in the morning we'll discuss, we'll have a meditation session, and we'll have the journaling session, and in the evening we'll have the session on newspaper, depending on the time that we have. I'll try to have it in the morning itself, but let me see if I have time tomorrow morning to take up both the things. So with this, let's wrap our class, folks. I will see you tomorrow at 5:50. Thank you very much.